Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. Here, this is the spot where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Welcome home, Brains. There's only one requirement to hang out on the edge, is that you open your big brain and close your small mind. Did you bring your thinking caps? It's time to put them on, because the conversation starts now. Here we go. Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney. How are you, brains? Here at the spot, the location where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Today's a special edition. Yes, we are going to be in the kitchen with Mary Lummerding. We're going to talk about all things that are good for us. Maybe she'll give us a secret recipe, also a look inside of her cookbook. So I dressed up for the occasion, absolutely. So we are going to be, now where's your whisk at, Mary?
My whisk is here.
We are going to be dueling whisk, okay? I'm so excited. This is so fun and creative. It's a different show. You know, we talk about mindset and entrepreneurs and books, but let's talk about the love that we pour into our families, we pour into ourselves, healthy options, healthy choices, and some guilty pleasures. Thanks so much for being with us today, Mary. How are you?
I'm great, April. Good to see you. Good to be here.
That's going to be exciting. So tell us how you show up in the world. What are you bringing together?
What am I bringing together? Oh, I've done a lot. As you can see, I've been around a while and I've done a lot of different things. So, what I bring is, I think, compassion, and I like to listen and I like to help people.
So how long have you been in the kitchen? How long have you been a chef?
I earned my papers when I was in my 20s. I went to a 2-year program in Toronto, had some time at the Sheridan and the CP Independent CP Hotel in Banff Springs, and then landed in Victoria. So I cooked professionally in Victoria for 10 years.
Well, honey, I tell you, if you've never been to Banff, baby, you better try to get there because all things are good in Banff, Canada. Yes, I got to
Yes.
stay at the castle. Got to go to some really beautiful places in Lake Louise, and the food is just excellent. All right, I have a lot of questions for you.
Okay.
The first thing is being a chef,
Mm-hmm.
um, and having a certain palate, tasting your food, but preparing food. That's all right. The dog knows that we got some good stuff going on. He's waiting for the scraps.
It's probably the mailman, but yeah, there is the mailman.
All right, good. He's on
Okay.
the job. He's earned his keep. He's earned his keep. So, uh, being a chef,
Mm-hmm.
number one, why did you choose that zone of genius?
Well, when I was in high school and they're telling you where you're going to go after high school, I was choosing between art and cooking. And I decided I could make a living better with cooking rather than my art. That's what I did.
Were you always in the kitchen as a kid with your mom and grandma and looking at their recipes and
Yeah, I didn't know my grandparents. They passed away when I was really, really young. But yeah, I cooked with my mom. My mom didn't like the daily cooking. She had 5 kids and it was a grind for
wow.
her. So the girls would take over once in a while and help her out. Yeah, I and my summer jobs in school were cooking. I started out flipping hamburgers at a beach resort, and then I was one of the main cooks at a country playhouse.
I am always fascinated by the person that's in the kitchen.
Hmm.
Because in all transparency, I like to cook, but to do that day in and day out, to run a restaurant,
Yes.
and to be creative and not get bored with it, how do you continuously find joy in the kitchen?
Uh, Part of it is being healthy. The result, like the result of eating healthy, comes from the cooking, and also figuring out new ways of making food. Like there's so many recipes around
Mm.
that it's easy to find different things to make. But also, when I was in the restaurant, I worked in a Mediterranean type restaurant. So he would be sourcing the fresh fish. And there was an herb guy that would come in once a week. And the chef got so excited when Andrew showed up with his bags of herbs, and
Wow.
be a full grocery bag of basil. And then we would have all the other herbs. And from that inspired him to make the different recipes.
You two things. You mentioned the Mediterranean. Brains,
Mhm.
let me tell you what I uncovered when I went to Italy. Watch those people eat 6 and 7, 8-course meals. I'm like,
Mhm.
who in the world does that and finish it?
Yes.
But they became one with the food. It was a dining culinary experience. The chef would come out, he would serve you your plate, he would tell you what was in the plate. He'd whisk his hand across it so that you would gauge the aroma. He would pair it with the wine. It was a full, yes, it was a
Yes.
full blown experience.
Yes.
And another thing that I figured out, it is farm to table. All of this
Mhm.
processed stuff that we get here in the United States, there are some cheeses that you can buy and you put a lighter to them, the suckers don't even melt.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know, it's the cross pollination of the wheat and the flour and the grain. That is what is harming us. To
Mhm.
be able to have something in the garden. You'd be so proud of me, Mary. I can go out to my garden. I've got thyme, I've got basil, I've got mint, I've got some strawberries, I've got some
Mhm.
tomatoes. I'm about to grow some cucumbers and some lettuce. To go out in your garden and to pull something fresh and to taste what Mother Nature
Yes.
had designed it
Yes.
to taste like is amazing. Do you have a garden as well?
I
Oh,
do. This
look
is one of our
at
tomatoes.
that.
This is actually a ripe tomato. It's a pineapple tomato,
Really?
and that's the color. And yeah, you should see the color inside. Hang on, put it open for you. Yeah, look at that.
Oh my God.
It's dripping. It's
Juice
dripping.
inside of it.
Yes.
It's amazing.
So,
What other things do you have in your garden?
oh my goodness, we grow berries and asparagus. We have about 6 different kinds of squash that are growing. It's about it's huge. We have celery, lots of celery this year, and
Mm,
beans, different kinds of beans, strawberries, peppers. There's a few different kinds of peppers.
it is
Yes,
so fun. And I tell people too, if you have a child that's a selective eater,
yes,
number one, encourage them, trick them, bribe them, whatever it takes, but also take them in the garden. And as you go through the produce department,
yes,
encourage them. Say, hey, look, the goal this week is to find a different color, maybe purple. You can encourage them to do a red onion or maybe to, what is that, eggplant.
hmm,
But if they see and they're engaged in where the food comes from, they will be more excited. Bring them
that's
into
right.
the kitchen, teach them about measurements, teach them about different
Yeah,
type of oils and processing.
yes.
You can encourage your children to eat better outside of this stuff that you drive through and get.
And you
So,
know what you're also doing? You're teaching them math skills. You're teaching them how to make decisions. You're teaching them to be independent, which is always a good thing. Have independent kids. You're teaching them how to enjoy their life. You know, you're teaching them so many things by including
and
them.
how to wash the dishes.
Yes, how to work. Yes,
Exactly, exactly. And that it is it's honorable. And that
yes,
we have to live to eat. We don't eat to, well, I said that backwards. We eat to live. We don't live to eat. As I've been telling my other guests, I had gotten to an ugly habit. I was eating for entertainment. Every
mhm,
time I go to a meeting, let's meet at the restaurant. But now
yes,
what I do is, hey, why don't you do this? Why don't you pack a sandwich? I'll pack a sandwich. We'll meet at the park. We'll eat. We'll have some water. We'll walk.
nice.
What are
Yes.
some of the staples that every person should have in their kitchen?
Um, Basic vegetables would be onions and celery and mushrooms. Carrots, you can do lots of things with carrots. And the meats that you like, I've started using boneless, skinless chicken breasts more.
I
A
find
lot.
when I use a boneless chicken breast, sometimes you got to be careful because it can get dry.
Yes. I marinate it with a lemon based
Oh,
marinade. Give it a bit more flavor and don't cook it too much.
okay. All right. That's good.
Overcook it
Well,
and it's dry.
they'll say if you don't cook it enough, then you're going to get salmonella. Do you recommend that you use one of the meat thermometers? I don't do that. I kind of look
No,
at it
you
and
poke it. There,
uh,
there, you poke it. It should be like that part of your hand.
okay.
Like when we were cooking steaks, it was like that's well, that's medium, that's medium, and that's rare. You'll feel it
Yeah.
softer when you do that.
Oh,
Yeah, so you poke it, or you put your knife through it, and your knife goes slides through it easily. Then it's cooked. Or you
okay.
could just cut it open, but sometimes that
Another
makes it
trick that
easier.
I found, I took a Thai cooking class when I was in Thailand.
Yeah.
People are always wondering about how hot to get the grease when you're going to fry something. I
Mm-hmm.
never knew this. You put a wooden spoon inside of the grease, and when the grease starts to bubble, it's hot. A wooden
Okay.
spoon. I didn't need a thermometer. I used to sprinkle a little bit of water and watch it pop. But yeah, I know you could really
Stand
cause
back.
yeah, you could cause a problem. But you put a wooden spoon in there. So these are little tricks and tips. What are some of the basic staples when it comes to herbs that people should always use outside of salt and pepper?
Garlic. I know garlic's not really an herb. I don't think it's really an herb, but it's quite necessary. And
I
it's
love.
nice to have ginger. It's nice to have ginger around. And other than that, we buy a mix. It's called a Mediterranean mix. Got
Mm,
oregano and thyme, and got lemon peel in this one, which is quite nice.
mm.
Yeah.
And then too, I like how I watch the cooking show and you hold your spices up high and
Oh yeah.
sprinkle and it'll cover more instead of being
Mm.
down, down the bottom. So that's a cute little trick. It makes you look kind of fancy when you have your hand all up. Fresh garlic, and do you use turmeric?
Yes, I use turmeric, and fresh turmeric is very nice.
I use fresh turmeric too. I
Yeah.
use
Yeah.
turmeric too.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are some of your favorite recipes? I know you have a gazillion, but what just lights you up?
Uh, my absolute favorite is called ciappino, and it's a seafood stew.
Oh,
So you have like some kind of fish, what a white fish or a bit of salmon, and some shellfish and saffron, onions, garlic, herbs,
mm.
and it's just this beautiful bowl of seafood, and it's just nice.
Tell us a little bit about a base for soups. I have found that I make I think, the best wonton soup. I
Mm-hmm.
can really make some beef stew. I can make chili.
Mm-hmm.
But again, starting with the base of herbs and spices to
Mm-hmm.
and you build on that. A lot of people use chicken broth, beef broth, and water. Is that good for a base for a stew or for a soup?
Well, not so much the water. You need a bit more flavor in it than water, but um, yeah, we make our own stock. Like when we have chicken bones left over, we'll make some stock and freeze it and then pull it out.
Okay,
And
how do you do that? Do you because I'm gonna tell you a horror story. One of my guests was telling me, my mother wasn't feeling good, and she says, "What you should do is you should boil some chicken feet and use the stock."
oh,
I'm that was the worst thing ever. Those little things kind of swole up. They look and the smell was horrific.
oh,
So when you use it, so you've made a turkey, for example,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then you take the bones, because that's what I do. I'll roast a
Mm-hmm.
turkey, and so I have fresh turkey sandwiches or turkey
Yes.
stew or whatever. And then you take those bones, and then you just continuously boil them in water for.
Well, you have to have the vegetables, the onion and celery and carrots, and some herbs if you have like fresh thyme or something, some garlic cloves, and cover the bones and put the lid on it to keep the flavor in.
Mm,
I've heard two schools of thought. Sometimes people say the flavor disappears, and others say the lid keeps it in. So
okay.
it also reduces the amount of condensation in your kitchen if you put the lid on.
And you're actually trying to take, I don't know, extract a lot of the minerals, the vitamins, and the broth from the actual marrow that comes from the bone, correct?
Um, yeah, I think the flavor comes from the bones themselves as well.
Okay.
And you're right, it is more nutritious because you're controlling the amount of salt that you're putting in as well.
Right, right, because that salt can be something else. But there's
Yes.
certain things that you cannot have, in my opinion, like eggs. I cannot eat an egg without some salt. You got to have
Okay.
some salt on it. Yeah. And
Yeah.
Mexican food like guacamole, things like that. Some things
Hmm.
actually need a lot of salt. So
Hmm.
you are a part of an anthology. Tell us about your contribution and your writing about cooking.
Hmm. Well, my first book this year was an anthology. It's a community book, and that's what it looks like.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. So I wrote about, it's a while since I looked at it. I picked my sister's birthday, so I can find it very easily. And fond food memories about my mom not liking to cook and what it was like. Yeah, her weekly meal was fried bologna, cream corn, and mashed potatoes.
I
Oh my
I
goodness.
love some cream corn. I love
Talk about salt. But this one was fantastic. This is a woman out of Vancouver, Deb Drummond, put together this project. It's a 5-year global project. The book was distributed at the gift salon at the Emmys last weekend, and women are contributing their stories and talking about what they do and how they contribute in life. And then my own book came out this year uh, in mid-August, and Culinary Bliss. So I like to help people to find easy ways to fit cooking into their schedule,
Mhm,
because
mhm.
you get busy and you don't feel like cooking, and so you order in or go out.
And I found that going out now is a drag on so many levels. Um, and I get concerned about this, Brains.
Mhm.
The turnover at a restaurant. Really? Are they're not throwing out the food every night. I don't believe a lot of places aren't. Sometimes if I go to certain restaurants, I can taste where the grease has not been changed.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You can tell that. I asked one of the guys at my favorite little fish restaurant. I said, "What do you do with this grease? That's a whole lot of grease for this, fried catfish." And he goes, "Well, they drain it and they use it. They convert it into fuel." And that
Hmm.
scared me. And I was
Oh.
like, "Wow." I have been studying nutrition,
Okay.
and from that, they were telling me to avoid, of course, sugar, but also vegetable oils, to use more peanut oil or olive oil or soybean. Those type of things are
Hmm.
better for the brain health and the body. You work with people with regards to brain health. Tell us a little bit about what you've uncovered.
I found a study where it talked about the value of cooking with helping your brain, where the sequencing, organizing, the different ways that you use your brain to organize what you do in the kitchen helps with your brain health. And also, if you're a busy entrepreneur, it's a good break from work. Instead of sitting down on the couch and watching TV for 15 minutes, go in the kitchen and cut some vegetables and get it ready for dinner. Then when you come back for dinner, everything's ready and you just throw it together like a stir fry, and dinner's so easy and it's all ready to go.
Food is a meditation, Brains. It's a thought process. Let me tell you my little story. Oh, my daughter was upset. She was crunchy with me.
Mhm.
I told her, I said, well, you know what? Give yourself a break. Go in there and cook those tacos. Oh, I heard her clinging and clanging and slamming the pans. And I thought she was going to cut off her finger the way that she was chopping up the lettuce and the tomatoes and all that. And then she comes to me, Mother, the tacos are ready. And I said, oh, no, I'm not eating that. And she says, I've been in the kitchen slaving and cooking and cleaning up, and you mean to tell me you're not going to eat it? I said, no, because you didn't make it love. I am not eating your animosity. I am not eating your anger. Okay. You did not make this. Food is love. I am ingesting this, not just what's on my plate, but when I bless my food, I bless the sacrifice for the animal, for the farmer that's been out in the field that picked it, for the truck driver that's delivered it, and for the cook that's prepared it. And then I'm going to sit here and eat something that's not pleasing to my heart and my soul. It wasn't good for me. So I just share that with you. You know how people prepare your food. Mama used to always say, you don't mess with people that serve you your medicine and your food, baby. So I understand. I totally understand. You're also a Toastmaster.
Yes, I am.
So you go out and you talk about that. I'm a former president of Toastmasters, and Brains, if you don't know, it is an international nonprofit that teaches you how to become orators and speakers, how to give a
Mhm.
presentation, how to deliver a speech, beginning to end, parliament, I can't even say it, parliamentary procedures. It's great. Tell me about your experience with Toastmaster and why you joined.
Well, I joined 16 years ago.
Wow.
Not because I'm a totally slow learner, but because I really enjoy it. You meet really, really good people, people that are working on themselves to improve. And I've made some really, really good friends at Toastmasters. I joined because I was a union representative at work. I was in a meeting with another union rep and a room full of managers. I just changed my name to Lummerding, and I could barely pronounce my name. And I thought, I'm not saying anything else. And that weekend, I was walking through the mall. There was a kiosk for Toastmasters. And when I slowed down, these four people swarmed me and said, oh, you should come. So I did. I went to Toastmasters that Monday and I joined and I stayed. And I love it. I'm one of the main organizers. I welcome the
Wow.
guests. I help them. We've had people. I had one woman in tears, and she said, "I can't do it. I can't do it." So we went out to the hallway. We talked about it. I calmed her down. I stood beside her at the lectern, and she did it. A couple months later, she was in a contest.
And
So
it builds your self esteem, your
it
confidence.
does.
It's a great
Yes.
place to network,
Yes.
great place to network internationally,
Yes.
not
Sure.
just your local group, but different chapters. Again, it's FREE. Of course, you got to pay for your supplies and all that kind of stuff,
Yes.
but you look so forward to that. And you
Mhm.
prepare, just like you prepare a meal, you prepare your speech, you
Mhm.
slice and dice it, you edit it, you filter it, you sift
Yeah.
it. So it is a wonderful, wonderful thing. It's great for your children also too to take them so that they learn because public speaking is one of people's greatest fears,
Yes.
and just to be out to be able to explain yourself in a meeting,
Mhm.
giving a presentation, being in an interview, it is really, really good, and it's good for your soul. So
Yes.
now share with us, what are you doing there in the kitchen? What are you cooking tonight for dinner?
Well, my husband brought home sausages, so we'll be doing some sausages on the barbecue. We barbecue quite
Oh.
a bit right through the year. Being in Victoria, we can do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't
What are
know.
some of your suggestions for grilling? My husband can barbecue like no other. Men like to barbecue. I noticed that too. They like to be.
Women like leaving it to the men.
You're right. You're right.
It,
You are right.
that's something they're willing to do. Um, not have it too hot. Not leave it too long. We used to sell vegetables at a farm market, and this one woman loved artichokes, and she left the artichokes on the grill and asked her husband to watch them. And he didn't watch them, and they burnt.
Mm,
Came back the next week looking for more artichokes.
mm, mm, mm.
But yeah, don't leave them too long. Don't have the heat too high or too low. Yeah.
I love different types of meat. There's people that don't eat meat. So,
Hmm.
what are some great meat substitutes?
Just in general, well, we've started using more of the beans,
Mm.
garbanzo beans, and there's a nice mix that you can buy in the tin, and just put a vinaigrette with it and a few fresh vegetables, and you've got a meal.
So, are you a strong proponent of mushrooms and tofu?
I don't use tofu very much, but my husband's been working at his daughter's and living there for a month, and she's feeding him tofu and a lot of lentils and different things. He's come
Mhm.
home with a whole pile of different recipes.
Wow.
So I think we will be eating more tofu and
Yeah, I didn't like tofu
plant
at
based.
first either until my Middle
Yeah.
Eastern girlfriend made some. And you have to,
Yes.
again, go on to these all recipes or recipes.com or
Yeah.
pick up. Maybe
Hmm.
Mary will incorporate that in her next edition of her next cookbook. But you have to squeeze the water out of it. And
Well, there's the soft and the medium and the hard, so you have to know which one you're looking
right,
for.
right. And I made some with some curry and some mushrooms and some bok choy.
Oh,
It
too
was
bad you're not my neighbor, man.
Yeah,
We could
it
have
was,
fun.
it was out of sight. When I opened the door, I was like the Pied Piper. You could see people like they could smell it. And that's another
Yes.
thing is that when you walk past someone's house, when you're walking, you can smell the love coming out of the window. In the morning, you smell the breakfast things. In the evening, you smell the different herbs and spices. Herbs and spices are critical. Learn how to use them. Don't be afraid. I didn't know the power of cinnamon, how many things you
Oh.
could use with cinnamon. I didn't know the
Mhm.
power of mint. The only thing I used the mint
Yes.
was my mojito.
Yes.
But the different types of mints, there
Hmm.
are so many herbs that just really can grow with minimal effort. And then you
That's
go
right.
out to your garden and you grab them and you chop them up and you put them
Mhm.
over a steak or over some fish and you grill it. Brains, it wakes up the flavor like no other. So there are a lot of things outside of salt and pepper.
Yes. Yes, there are. Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
this has been absolutely amazing. Mary, you are wonderful. Do you have any other tips and tricks that you want to share with us?
One thing that's in my book I want to share because it's so easy is this. I got to show you the picture. Look at that. That
Wow.
is that is a banana split, and it's one of the easiest things to make because all you need is ice cream. You can melt the chocolate in the microwave. A bit of fruit, like mush up some strawberries or and put the bananas along the out, and then make some whipping cream and put that on top. And if you have some sliced almonds, you can toast them and sprinkle them on top,
Mm.
and you make yourself a banana split.
Well,
You know?
you see how she sprinkled it with her fingers, brains? Absolutely. Absolutely wonderful. I'm going to ask you
Mhm.
a couple fun questions because I want people to know you outside of the kitchen. Okay.
Okay.
Uh, if you were an appliance in that kitchen, what appliance would you be?
I was an appliance. I'd be a refrigerator.
Me too. Why would you be the refrigerator?
um, because people are so happy when they open you up and look at you, and it's nice and cool. And there's a wide variety of foods, hopefully.
Absolutely. And it's a place where you can keep the wine,
Yes, yes,
but also it's a place where you can just chill out and, freeze if you have to.
yes, very chill.
Um, if you were not a chef, what
Hmm.
would be your zone of genius? What else would you like to do or other career that you'd like to have?
Yeah, I would go back to the art, and
Ooh.
I like the big ones. I like splashing the picture all over the place with color.
You are a contemporary
Creating art.
artist?
I, I'm the closet artist. Yes.
Okay. Well, that's good. You're
Mhm.
painting things with a broad stroke. If you were an animal, what animal would you be?
My first thought is a cheetah.
Ooh,
Yes. The running, um, watch watches everything. You know where this comes from? Doing table topics at Toastmasters, practicing the impromptu speaking, and you can answer anything. Just like
exactly.
you don't edit, you know. Oh, a cheetah. Well, maybe not. Maybe a monkey. Maybe an elephant. But the first thought is cheetah, and you just say it.
Right. And then
So
you have to elaborate on it and be
yes,
convincing. Be
yes,
convincing and be entertaining, which is
yes.
really good.
Hmm.
Writing and making a cookbook is not easy, again, because you're a culinary expert. So you can look at it and, grab a bunch of herbs and know how much to sprinkle, or,
Hmm. Hmm.
which herbs are more potent, which with vinegars work well, which, what's the best marinades.
Yes.
But it's it's a skill to that. So when you create a cookbook, you have to kind of measure it so other people can follow that, and also take the photographs. That's
Hmm.
very important. I worked in television and I've done the food segment, and it has to look a certain way, and they put a glistening on it, so it does that. Presentation is very important as well. Give
Hmm.
us a couple suggestions on garnishing, because that's what I want to do. I want to make my plates nice and pretty when I serve them to my husband. What are some things garnishing? I see how they put the sauce on, and then they smeared with a spoon. How do you learn to that gift of making your plate look pretty?
Well, if that's what you like, then I would, go to YouTube and watch TV for that. I'm
Okay.
thinking more about the colors. Like you talked about colors earlier, pick different colors of peppers and put 3 or 4 different colored peppers in your stir fry instead of just the green pepper. And on top, if you want, you can put a bit of parsley or something. But I think it's using the different colored vegetables and not overcooking it so they don't lose their color and charm.
Get mushy. I tell this story too. My mother, as she was transitioning, she lost her sense of taste and smell, and it was horrible,
Hmm.
because when she would eat, she would just eat trying to fulfill that need. And I sat there one day and I thought about it. I said, what can I do to make this more palatable and comfortable for her? Number one, I told her to use her imagination and think about what it used to smell like, but also to create more texture on her plate.
Yes.
Maybe things that had more grain, that was grainy, or maybe more color, carrots or corn. And also, I could do a few things. I would make her pancakes so cute.
Oh.
Put some strawberries, and I'd put, a little whipped cream on it to give her a
Hmm.
visual. So you can also, entice people and encourage their brain health by the way
Yes.
that the plate looks.
Yes.
That's very important. Very important. What would you say to a mother that has a picky eater?
Partly don't fuss over them too much. I think part of the problem is people are fussing over them. Um, Consider whether what they're eating is really that bad or not.
Mhm,
Sometimes it's just a short phase. Sometimes it's a bit of rebellion.
mhm.
Maybe they're objecting to something and being very stubborn. Um,
I say
yeah,
bribe them.
yeah, that gets into other things. Then
Right,
how does that stop?
right,
Where does
right. How do
that
you do that?
stop? That
No,
it
but
has to be a
encourage,
decision for them. Like
but
when you
again,
take them to the
encourage them.
grocery store, get them involved in picking their own. Um, we always gave my son 3 choices, and sometimes it was cereal. Sometimes it was something I would have bought anyway, but it was his choice. And if he wanted a fourth item, he had to put one of the other 3 back. And I used to have the roughest time shopping with my son, and his dad taught me how to shop with him and said, well, get him involved, like get him filling up the bag of mushrooms, and don't be fussy about, well, that's the wrong mushroom, that's not a nice mushroom. Just let him do it, you
Hmm.
know. And I find a lot of people are pretty fussy about things, and kids sometimes they just need to be able to make their own decisions.
Right. Well, making a decision is something that you've done in a great way. And thank you so much for being here on the edge, whisking it up, mixing it up, blending it up with us.
And
Absolutely.
I'm a
Oh my goodness, look at her, brains. I
I
love it.
got this from my mother-in-law. It weighs about
Wow.
at least 5 pounds. She was a
Wow.
cook, was a cook at a logging camp.
That is beautiful.
She
That is
loved the cleavers, so she took it home with her. And
it
then
is
we
so
got all of her cookware, so she included the cleaver.
that's beautiful. That is so beautiful. So thank you so much, Mary, for being here on the edge. Hold up that cookbook for another second so people can
Yeah.
run out and purchase a copy. Look at that. That's it. That is the money
Yeah.
shot, brains. Culinary bliss.
Yes. It's
It's on
organizing and
Amazon.
enjoying. It's organizing and enjoying cooking. There's just a few.
So, Mary, let's do a deep dive more about your book. It's not so much about the recipes, but it's more about organization. Explain that to us.
Thank you, April. That's people need to have the basics in the kitchen, like we were talking about the kinds of vegetables to have in the kitchen and the spices and stuff. And if you choose a recipe, say off the internet, um, maybe, or maybe you've gone and taken a course and you come home, but you don't have the ingredients and you don't have the equipment, or maybe not even the skills to complete the recipe. In my book, I help you to get your kitchen organized, um, and have the tools and equipment that you need, and also how to shop effectively so that when you want to make some dinner, like a stir fry, you have the basics available, and it's easy to follow recipes and put together a meal for yourself.
My daughter is now getting on my nerves with this. Well, again, she wanted everything. I got her that KitchenAid. That thing was $400. Uh,
Yes,
she wanted a Ninja. She wanted a mincer. She wanted
yes,
a certain that pulsating blender that you make with soups and all that.
yes.
She's loving that stuff. But if you don't have that, what are like the basic things you need to have?
Hmm.
Of course, some good cutlery,
Yes.
uh,
Knives,
knives.
you
Yeah,
know, good knives, a good peeler. If you don't have a good peeler, then it's frustrating to peel your carrots and other vegetables. You know,
right,
we got a new peeler and I realized I thought it had a good peeler, and then we got a new one and it's like, oh, this is nice. You
right.
know?
Well, and you know what I've noticed that there's a difference too in how small or how large your vegetables are when you cut them. Because I have one of those mincers, and one day I was just, you know, it turned into a soup because I minced it too much.
Oh,
But then another time I pulsated it, and then it gives it a different
mhm.
flavor.
Yes.
It's a different flavor. So you need to have a whisk, as we discussed.
Yes, our whisk,
Okay,
or
we should
different
have.
kinds. You know, there's different kinds of whisks. This is for like a sauce. This is more
Oh,
for whipped cream. This
oh,
is
so
for
that's good
this
to
is
know.
for light things, because everything's going to get stuck. If you did this with a dough like pancakes, you know, you'd
Right.
have all that batter in the middle. But if you had one like this, then you could do your pancake batter and take out the lumps.
Okay. And
And
so,
it's also, you know, instead of getting the machines out, it helps your wrist, like your health.
yeah, and it makes your food taste a lot different too.
Yep, you're
So you
putting
would
that back
need
in
maybe
there.
a spatula.
Yes, different spatulas. There's
Oh, good.
I thought we'd be talking equipment, so I got my
And,
spatula.
and again, that's perfect. That's what we want to know because people don't know.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people that I know that are afraid of a wooden spoon.
Big and
Why
little.
is a wooden spoon so important?
I don't like the sound of metal on the pots
Ah,
for me. And I grew up with aluminum, and they said not to use metal with aluminum. But I also like stirring with them. And if I have something really thick with a big pot, like my spaghetti sauce,
Right,
then I'll use this. And if this, for stir fry, and then you want to have a few because if you need to toss your
right,
vegetables,
right.
then,
Okay. Well,
yeah.
those are some of the basic
Hmm.
core staples that you need in your kitchen. Thank you
Yes.
so much for that organization. And we appreciate that, Mary.
Few recipes to get you started.
Perfect. Tell us how to get in contact with you. And are you on social media? Can we follow you?
I am. I'm on Facebook at Chef Mary KT. You can find me on LinkedIn. I think the easiest thing is just putting my name in. And my website is kitchentimes.org. Just email me at chefmary@shaw.ca or through my website.
Brains, go in and explore, you know, change your palate,
Yes.
awaken your sensibility, have a conversation, take people in the kitchen with you,
Hmm.
have a garden,
Yes.
be careful of the cheetah.
And get
And
yourself a nice hat.
well, yeah, absolutely. Get yourself a hat. Thank you
Yeah.
so much again, Mary, for being with me on the edge. Brains, I want you to whisk it up, mix it up. We're gonna chop it up like Ginsu knives, okay? Go in, love, like, share, and subscribe. Love, like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment if there's something that you want to know about cooking. Maybe you have a great recipe that needs a do-over, makeover, or an enhancement. Send it to Mary. I'm sure she'd love to engage with you all the way in Canada. Thank you so much, Mary. You are the
Thank
best.
you, April.
Bye, brains.